fresh as a shiny penny. Here you go. Is that good?
Jackson, your crickets, you have 1 minute.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hocus Pocus. I was fascinated to learn the etymology of that. Long ago, the Catholic Mass was always conducted in Latin, and still is to this day. And most of us English speakers don't know Latin, so when we want to, make fun of it, we say things like, Domino, Nabiscos, Gloria in eggshells, Lumbago, something like that. Well, similarly, long ago, when it was conducted all in Latin, and the part of the Mass where the priest is about to give communion, he says, before giving the wafer, he says, Hoc est corpus meum, which literally translates to, this is my body. So when the wise-ass lampooners of hundreds of years ago wanted to make fun of all this liturgical mumbo-jumbo, and all this magic of, wafers turning into bodies and stuff like that, they say, oh, it's all this hocus pocus. And that was how hocus pocus came from hoc est corpus meum. Well, get this. It got further etymologized to become the hokey pokey. And it makes perfect sense still. If you think about the last verses, I put my whole self in, this is my body. It makes perfect sense. Well, I have a very dear friend, Ruth Stoddard in California. When she was a girl, her nickname was Pokey. And you'd think that as she got to be an adult, she'd be glad to shed that childhood nickname. On the contrary, no. Her husband of 50-some years endearingly refers to her as Pokey, as do many of her dear friends. So whenever I come across anything to do with hokey pokey, I, buy it, like a card or something to give to Ruth. So I came across this pin that said, what if the hokey pokey is what it's all about? And of course, I had to buy it for Ruth, and I didn't want to just mail it to her in California. I wanted the pleasure of giving it to her in person, and I couldn't wait, but I had to wait a long time till we were both at a storytelling conference in Chicago, and it was worth the wait because as soon as she got it, she was just tickled pink, and she wore it, and she was telling everybody the backstory to it and all that. But I also got to tell her story as a gift to go with that. And there was a group of American devotees of Krishna who were going on a spiritual pilgrimage to India. And their hosts couldn't have been more gracious, in giving them their, homes and food and culture and music and all of that. And when it was time for the Americans to leave, their hosts, asked, to learn something about their culture in return. Only fair. And so they were kind of on the spot. They didn't think, what could compare to all the richness they have just gotten. They felt kind of like American white bread. What could they do? But they had to do something. So one of them looked at the other and said, I don't teach them the hokey pokey. At least it'll be fun. So they did that, but speaking different languages, something got lost in this show and tell and translation of this dance, and including the tempo. So instead of the silly flavor, it was done in this really, elegant, spiritual way, and they were really getting into it. It was kind of like a sacred Sufi dance, and this is what the Americans didn't intend that, but obviously this was a big hit. They were loving it. So at the end, they took the interpreter aside and said, how did you translate this? So they took it the way they did. And they said, I translated exactly the way you tell me. At the end, I invest my entire being. I withdraw my entire being. I reinvest my entire being. I hum and vibrate in a circular motion, like the cosmos itself, and this is the essence of the situation. So is it any wonder that it was danced with such deep profundity? So I think never in the history of the hokey pokey was that dance ever danced with such spiritual reverence. And I think if you look back the liturgical roots of this word, the hocus corpus, this is my body, and then the mockery of that, the hocus pocus, the magic stuff, and then it returning full cycle. I think it's to the religious roots again. I think it's proof positive that when it comes to the hokey pokey, truly, that's what it's all about. And so is the gift of story. And I'll just add this little tag here, a little sidebar. The guy who was credited with composing the Hocus Pocus that we know, the recorded version, Larry Laprise, is a really jolly fellow. When he died in 1996, his funeral was like kind of these New Orleans, great times. And they were having a wonderful time celebrating his life and all his music. And everything was going great until they tried to put his body in the casket. And first they put his right leg in. And all hell broke loose. But that part's not true, but the rest is. And the gift of story to you. Thank you.